In your talk is going to be an introduction of yourself and how you know violets as well as you do, and then some of your work that you're doing and what you're finding out during this time, and then an experience. Yes. So we look forward to it, and anything you need from me during it, just let me know.
Will do.
Okay.
Okay. So, yes, I'm Claire Mercurio. I am the treasurer for the Violet Solomon Oaklander Foundation and have been so since 2005 when it was created. But I want to give you some historical context of my relationship with Violet and the foundation. We're going to go back to the late 1980s, and I was in Los Angeles getting my PhD, and I chose a nonprofit program to work with for my hours because it had a child and adolescent portion to it. Well, my supervisor within the first week gave me a book, the book that we all know so very well, Windows to Our Children. I read that book and I said, oh my goodness, that is what I want to do. That's who I want to be. I was floored by it. So we're going to fast forward to 1993. I now have my degree, my license, and a baby. And we decide to move to Santa Barbara because that's where I want to start a practice and that's where I want to raise my family. But I don't know anybody in Santa Barbara. So I opened up the phone book because we had those back then. And I went to the yellow pages and I looked under parenting. I needed something to do with my 3-month-old son. And what do I see under parenting but Violet Oaklander, PhD? I had no idea she lived in Santa Barbara. I just about had a freak out, but I dialed up her number right away and she answered the telephone. And I'm like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, how do I even say hello to this person? But I managed to get some words out. And so I found out she did do trainings, and so I went to those and I got to know some people that she has worked with. And then I did her 2-week intensive training in the year 2000. And that's where I met Lynn Stadler and Peter Mortola, who was doing his dissertation, which would later become Window Frames. And John Blend was there too. It was amazing. And then fast forward again to about 2004, 2005, when Sue and Karen were talking about we need a foundation. We need a foundation. So we met at Taffy's, which is still existing. I go there about once or twice a month. And we all talked and we started to meet, but it was all kind of getting very it's difficult. It's business. You got to get your nonprofit status and figure out how to run a board. And everybody was getting bogged down with business. And I don't know whose idea it was, but we decided we need to have a retreat. We need to do experiences. We need to make this a rich foundation. And so I know Lynn and Violet had a lot to do with the agenda. Maybe Karen, you did as well, and Sue, and maybe Peter. But we met for a day at the El Prado, which is where Violet had run her 2-week intensives, and we did a bunch of exercises. And one of them, which was very meaningful for me, is we were all in a circle, and the prompt was, and then there were a ton of puppets, a pile of puppets was put in the middle of the circle. And the prompt was, pick out a puppet that somehow reflects how you see your role in this foundation. And this is mine. And when it came to be my turn to say why, I said, well, I kind of expect to be an invisible part. I want to be behind the scenes. I'm not going to go all over the world training. It's not in my temperament. But with a little encouragement and reassurance, and when it means a lot to me, like today, I might come out and say hi. This is my alter ego, Bandit. He's shy. He's highly sensitive. I'll tell you more about that. But when under certain calming circumstances, we like to play. And that has been my role. You can go back into your quarantine. This is kind of why I said I was made for this. Some people are doing really well in quarantine, and that's essentially what I'm going to be talking about. But I want to say a few more words about, but not too much, about being a highly sensitive person, which I very much am. If you don't know her work, the person who does most of this is Elaine Aron. It's Aron. She's written The Highly Sensitive Person, The Highly Sensitive Child, The Highly Sensitive Person in Love. She's about to publish The Highly Sensitive Parent, and then she's working on The Highly Sensitive Man. And I've gone to 3 workshops with her where we do experiential exercises with rescue horses, and they're really beautiful, and I've learned a lot about myself. But she's also got a documentary out, and I have a mug. This is her documentary, Sensitive, but the back is the key part I want to just say. DOES, does. This is the acronym for sort of how to distinguish yourself as a highly sensitive person. D is a deep thinker. We spend a lot of time up in our heads. O is, forget the easily overstimulated. And this is a key factor. The world is overwhelming. Too much light, too much chaos, too much sound. So highly sensitive people need to take a break from all of that. E is emotionally responsive and empathetic. A lot of therapists are highly sensitive, and so are a lot of our clients, because they get anxious and they come in for that. And the E is sensitive to subtleties. It's too hot, it's too cold, it's too loud, it's uncomfortable, this tag is bugging me. Just the world, people are sensitive to that. So I'm an HSP, so our 20% of the world is a trait. It's not a disorder, but it has challenges, but it also has gifts. And a lot of the HSP people, as well as other people who run anxious, and those are my OCD, autistic spectrum, quarantine is a little bit of a respite. And I'm going to talk a little bit more now about some of the ways that it's been a respite. So the OCD, the obsessive compulsive people, at first, the coronavirus was mind-blowing. They all got escalated and they're freaking out. Like, the germ thing is actually true. But then they've all kind of calmed down, and they're kind of happy that the rest of the world is doing what they want. Like, it's very sanitary out there. Everybody realizes germs are problematic. There's an expression I love. I hope this translates okay into other languages. It's, just because I am paranoid does not mean they're not after me. And I think a lot of the obsessive people feel this way. It's like, I could have a reason, and they're very validated right now because there is a reason for all their cleaning and showering and hand washing. So to a certain degree, they're being welcomed in. They're feeling more connected to the world and not so crazy. People who tend to be homebodies by nature are kind of enjoying this. They don't have to do the rush, get out of bed, go take a shower, put on your makeup, get dressed, get out the door, deal with traffic. It's slower. It's more gentle in their mornings. And those clients of mine, the ones who, the kids that had to get like rushed out, with parents are in a frenzy trying to get them out of the house, they like the slowness. They like that more relaxed sense of timing. Another thing I hear a lot from, especially the kids in junior high and high school, they hate PE, physical education, gymnastics. They hate it. And they don't have to do it right now. They don't like the locker rooms. They don't like the sweating. And this also, they don't like being clumsy and getting teased for that. Kids in general who get teased a lot and bullied on the playground, they're not having to do that right now. So, and also in addition to that, a lot of the people I'm talking about have tremendous anxiety, and the physical part of having anxiety is IBS. That stands for irritable bowel syndrome. So just the public bathroom at schools can be a nightmare for a lot of kids, and they're not dealing with that. They're at home. It doesn't matter. And going on to people more on the autistic spectrum, the world is extremely chaotic, and it's almost, that highly sensitive, they're being affronted. It's like they're being attacked from all sides when they have to go navigate the outdoors, not the quiet places, but the rush places. And a classroom can often be very problematic for people on the spectrum. And so they're kind of relieved from that. There are exceptions for sure. For example, I have an autistic client. He's actually an adult, and he can't work. He's pretty much disabled, lives with his mother, and doesn't leave the house very much. So that's not a problem for him. His problem is he has misophonia, and that is specifically problematic with noises. It's MISOPHONIA, and most people feel it chewing. When people chew, there's people who really, it's like the nails on a chalkboard, but it's very hard for people with misophonia to go out and hear certain sounds. Unfortunately for this client, everybody's home and they're doing yard work and they're leaf blowing and grass mowing. And so there's all these sounds from everybody around his neighborhood where it used to be quiet. And so there are exceptions to being home and having it be your retreat place. Also, I have a young autistic client who his parents keep him away from screens. And so he would get like 10 minutes a day at the most. And so everything is on Zoom, on screen, and he gets very dysregulated. And if he goes on a Zoom class meeting, all the people talking and all that screen time, he's just spiraling up. And so his parents are very dedicated, and they're working with the school to try to print things out, do pencil and paper, keep it calm, keep it quiet, very little screen time. So sometimes screen time is not conducive to people on the spectrum. It's all you have to figure out, what are people's challenges and what are their strengths and how do you navigate that? So I'm talking a little bit about more socially anxious kids, and especially in junior high and high school, I have a lot of teenagers who are on the brink of a panic attack all throughout the day, a couple times a week. And they're trying so hard to hold it inside because they don't want to be noticed. They're very self-conscious. So and the more they want to hold it inside, the harder it gets, and they get more anxious. And, I developed strategies with them, but right now they're not dealing with that. And even, just trying to hold it in makes it worse. And then looking at, I happen for some reason to have a fair number of high school seniors. So you would think these kids are, well, a lot of them are. The majority are so upset. They don't get their prom. They don't have their graduation. They don't have their grad nights and all the special activities. But I also have some who are more socially anxious or on the spectrum or highly sensitive who are going, I don't care. I didn't want to do that anyway. I said, I just want to have my small little group of friends, and that will be great. I'll celebrate at some point. Another piece is pets. The dogs are having a great time with this because they like their pack around them and they're getting walked all the time now. But also my clients people who are highly sensitive and on the spectrum tend to really want their animals around them, and they're very comforting, and they get to be at home with their animals. The cats, I'm not so sure. Some of the cats really are happy about this. And I have clients who say, oh no, my cat keeps wandering around looking for a room where there's no people. So it depends on what animal we're talking about. But the going outside to walk my dog is something that pretty much across the board, my highly sensitive, autistic spectrum, socially anxious people are jazzed about. They love having, and some of them actually have, we call them ESA, emotional support animals. So they're getting those animals without having to go through the legal aspect of it. So the pets are a really interesting component to all of what we're experiencing. So coming back to why all of this matters, the way I'm seeing it right now is with or without our consent, we are globally involved in an experiment, which is sociological, psychological, educational, biological, environmental, political, economic, it's all of it. And I'm hoping that, you know, some of the silver lining stuff is that we will learn and pay attention to what works for people and what doesn't. You know, how much does how do we incorporate remote work and school for the people who it's working for, and then be more flexible and tolerant. And so my conclusion on this, the talking part of this, is violets, meet us where we are, meet people where they are. This works for you, this doesn't work for you. Let's be tolerant and flexible so that we can create a better world for everyone and accommodate kids' needs where they're at. So I'm going to do an experiential exercise. I brought a number of my sand tray objects and figurines, and I'm gonna hopefully get them all in view. And what I want you to do is look them over and then pick one that could either represent the part of you that is overwhelmed by this world, or maybe feeling comfortable in quarantine. And then when you've picked that one, maybe, and then we can put this on the chat, write one sentence about what that part of you might say. So I'm gonna move my computer over to these figurines. You can see my hands, you can see all of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so just check them out and then write a sentence.
Do you mind repeating it one more time, the prompt?
Not at all. Picking one that in some way represents, ooh, my little prince is turned backwards, represents the part of you or a part of you that gets overwhelmed by the world and or is comfortable in this quarantine. And then a sentence that part would say.
Do you want me to read in the chat some of the answers, Claire, or how?
That would be great.
Okay. Okay, so here, let's see. The cat, I feel that everything might be difficult. Nonetheless, it sustains. The turtle, I'm comfortable with slowness and can keep more things under my shell. The girl's laying down. I wish I could be more like her, relaxed and reflective. It looks like the same one. The girl who is laying on her stomach and talking on the phone. I really love my mornings now and feel like this is how they are supposed to be always. I don't want this to end. The cactus friend dog Spike from Tokidoki, because I feel like I need a cactus suit to leave the house and protect me. I am the grown up here and I can cope. The biggest figure. The turtle, I love that I can go slow now, think deep and connect to the earth. Tortoise, what a relief. The sailboat, able to stay afloat with work and adjust with the temperature of the water, even though the boat has no control of the weather. The Alien, I'm so glad I don't need to go to the shop. Pink Cat, I feel comfort and relief by myself since I don't have to hide my wounds. And you have a lot of responses, Claire. I could keep going, but
Okay.
I don't know if you want me to stop there. You
That's
tell me.
That's great. I'm gonna go back to my other spot.
Okay.
Just to wrap it up and say, get back on my stool. But I just really want to say is how Violet, how much you mean to me, and this all means to me, and it is a brilliant silver lining out of this cloud. Thank you so much and happy birthday.